Well, good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
I'm Steve Willis, co-founder of Hope Sheds Light. On behalf of our other founders, Ron Rosetto and Arvo Prima, I want to welcome you all to our family support meeting. It's a joy to see everybody in person, and we welcome all of you who are joining us and communicating with us through Facebook. Thank you. Hope is a nonprofit that we started about 4.5 years ago. Our mission is to raise awareness and educate individuals and families in the community about the impact of addiction by having the courage to share personal experiences and offer strength and wisdom to provide hope and resources that lead to positive community change and long-term recovery. Our vision is for these efforts to remove the fear and stigma that surrounds the disease of addiction through a loving, recovery-driven, safe, trusting, and hopeful environment that brings wellness and allows families to have the courage to heal and recover. Addiction is a family disease, which means that everyone in the family needs to get well. Last year, we started this Finding Hope for Life family support group to help families do just that. It meets the second and fourth Tuesday of every month in this beautiful Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Toms River. This meeting is offered to anyone that's affected by addiction and to anyone who wants to learn how to potentially prevent it in their homes. We offer prevention strategies and tools to aid in recovery. We want you to know that you're not alone and that a loving, effective support system exists. Our hope is that by us sharing with you and you sharing with us, you'll find the courage to change the way you look and feel about addiction and in turn become healthy. The first part of our family support meetings is the educational piece. Our talented colleagues discuss topics that relate to prevention, treatment, and recovery for about 45 minutes or so. And during the second part, we break out into groups to discuss what we've heard and how addiction and substance misuse affects our lives today. Importantly, we talk about what we can do to take care of ourselves and therefore become healthy. We offer an educated plan for your family. It's based in wisdom and strength and love, and we're really excited again to see everybody. And we welcome all of our Facebook friends to be with us right here at our next meeting. And with that, let me introduce Lindsay Quintans. Good, right? I know. To introduce our speaker for tonight. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited about the energy in the room tonight. There is lots of love in the room tonight, and I really feel it. So welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for coming in. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Tonight, we are blessed and honored to have Dory Rachel here speaking for us. Dory Rachel, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. I'm a little nervous, but I'm really happy to be here. And I'm really thankful that I can share some of my experience, strength, and hope. I am a woman who's in recovery. My sober date is August 15th, 1985. It took me 10 years to get there. And I'm a person who comes from intergenerational addiction. So on both sides of my family, my grandfathers both suffered from addiction, and my mom and other people too were affected. So my family unit knew addiction. And when I was 15 and I had my first drink, I didn't know addiction. I knew that what I drank, I liked. And I drank the whole thing. And that was my first experience. And then I stopped until I was 18. And from when I was 18 to 31, I drank. And I tried to control it. And I went to see a counselor. The counselor told me how lucky I was that I was 21 and that I didn't have to suffer. And I didn't understand what he said. And for 10 years, I just kept looking for loopholes. I just kept looking for a way to be normal and to drink in a normal fashion. And by the time I hit 31, the jig was up. I just couldn't do it anymore. There had been times when I was 21, I would drink straight scotch. And when the counselor told me I was an alcoholic, then I went to wine. And I would have shots of wine. Like how many shots of wine can you do? I did a lot. But by the time I was 31, I had passed myself by on the continuum of use. All I needed was one glass to get drunk because my body was so saturated with alcohol. I had already had all those bottles in me, so I only needed so much. So I was going through a physical change. And my path was through 12-step recovery. And that brought me to a place where I was given a blueprint for living, pretty much. And it changed my life. It dropped me from here in my head, from being in my head, thinking what I was thinking, down to my heart, so I could learn how to function as a human being. So this Thanksgiving, I was thinking about all of us that came here today. We all have a story. We all have a reason for being here. We've all been affected by the disease of addiction in one way, shape, or another. And I was wondering about how I might relate my own personal story with every one of you, so that maybe when you go on later on today, you'll remember a couple of things that you can hold on to. One of the things that came, I'm just going to do a very quick overview of the 12 steps, so that if you've not been exposed and you haven't gone, my personal wreckage needed a total rebuild. It just wasn't going to work unless I was rebuilt. And this also applies to me in my current life. I work in the business of treatment. And during the day, I hear a lot of stories, and I hear a lot of struggles. And if it weren't for the program that I have, and I employ it as an Al-Anon type person, these steps keep me together. So steps 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much surrender steps. They're the steps where you just let go of what you knew, and you go into something new, a new world. And steps 4 and 5 are action steps. They're the steps where you kind of look at yourself, write down things about your own inventory and the time and what you were through, and then you share it with another. Step 5. 6 and 7 are you get right with yourself and you get right with God. If anybody else water? Thank you. Steps 8 and 9 are amends steps. You make a list of all the people you need to make an amends to, and in step 9, with guidance, you make amends. And step 10 is inventory. You do a daily inventory. And steps 11 and 12, there's spiritual growth and the give back that happens from the experience of all these 12 steps. So for me, I had a very slow recovery. I had an 8-month-old baby. I didn't have a car. I was working in the restaurant business. I wasn't sure how I was going to go on. And I had these 10 women that were around me who were so helpful and so kind. And slowly by slowly, I started to get a sense of what life was about, how I could be in life, and what it could offer. So part of what I do these days, especially around the holidays, and in dealing with life on life's terms, I learned to let go. Just let go. I try to let go of my thoughts, my expectations, what I think is real, and I just try to let go and be. So, while you're all here, put your feet flat on the ground. We're in a society that has shoes that have plastic on them. And your feet, even though they're on this rug, don't really get to hit the ground, like the earth, the ground. And there's a philosophy, thank you, in energy healing. Now I feel like somebody famous who did this. Thanks. with putting your feet on the ground, flat on the ground, you get to ground yourself. You get to, like I'd say to some of my sponsees that are struggling with something, where are you? Where are your feet? What are you doing? So your feet are where you are. And grounding helps you center. So you're not in your head so much, so you're not flying all around the place. So if you have the opportunity to take yourself outside for 10 minutes and just walk mindfully wherever you are during these days of chaos in the holidays, the mindfulness walking helps to balance. It helps greatly to balance. So the other thing is breathing. If you put your hands on your lower belly and just breathe in and breathe out gently. When the yogis are good at this, they breathe in and their bellies go out. But we, in this world, in the Western world, we always suck it in when we go to breathe in, you know. So I ask if you'd like to try a 4-4-7 breathing technique. And that is that you inhale through your nose 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and exhale through your mouth, little mouth, slowly. And as you're exhaling, just try to get rid of everything you're thinking of. So if you'd like to join me, in with the nose, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, exhale through the mouth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll try it again. So make sure you make a sound when you're exhaling. You want this to go out. In 4, so we'll start in 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So those 2 things, the grounding, the breathing, they give you a way to not be in your mind. They give you a way to clear out just what you've been dealing with and then be in the moment. Other things that help me are surrendering and humility. And the 2 of those together make up grace. Would anybody like to get a thought about what the word grace means? Or what it is? Yes.
Being given something without giving anything back.
That's excellent. Anyone else? Grace happens. Whether we want it to happen or we don't want it to happen, grace happens. It happens in a moment. Maybe we wanted it to happen and it didn't. And then when we least expected it, something happened. So in the world of recovery, in the world of discovering who we're going to be and where we're going to go, we can look for grace in our lives. Maybe we didn't get the job we wanted. Maybe we didn't get the house we wanted. Maybe we didn't get the life we wanted. But there are these pop-ups in recovery with the fellowship and like with you guys here. There's no coincidence that you're all here today. And there's serendipity that happens. There's something that happens with our connectivity. And through that, grace happens. We're all here because of what has happened to us with the disease of addiction. But by the fact that you showed up today, you're part of grace for the answer, for the hope, for the what we look forward to do as people who are on the journey joined together, especially during the holidays. It's not easy. So one of the things that I use all the time, is the Serenity Prayer. When I first got sober, I went to Block Island, Rhode Island, and I went to a bar. I knew I wasn't supposed to be there, but I'd go to the ladies' room. So I went into one of the booths, I guess you call it, and I shut the door, and then it was time for me to leave, and the door wouldn't move. So I had all this emotion, and I ended up ripping the door off its hinges. I just ripped it off the hinges. So with the energy that we have, when there are things that are not kind of going our way, like I was upset because I couldn't drink, and here I am, and I guess I had this massive power to be able to try and rip the door off. And that's a funny story, but it's true. And the part of it is that I realized I was not doing what I should have been doing. And when I say the serenity prayer, it's God grant me the serenity. That word serenity, like how do we get to serenity? To accept that things cannot change. And I'm a I can do it girl. Like, how do we get there? It's accept those things we cannot change. It's very, very difficult, but sometimes all it takes is letting go. Where are we in our reality? And the wisdom to know the difference. So this mantra, if you've not known this serenity prayer, acquaint yourself with this beautiful, short, sweet prayer that can just kind of transform in the moment and take us to a different spot. What I like to do when I get jammed up also during the holidays is to do something for someone and make sure they don't know it. Because I would like credit, basically. I want to know that I'm okay, so I want my credit. So a wise woman once said to me, go out and do something for somebody else and just make sure they don't know it was you. So every once in a while, I'll pay the guy behind me in Starbucks. He has no idea I buy his coffee. Or I'll do something where it's a very anonymous thing. And what that does is it kind of changes up my day. And it's a nice give back, especially during the holidays. And the other thing that I think, what I really, really wanted to talk about at length, but then I thought I can't, is for everybody, if you've not done it before, write a gratitude list. Usually 10 things. Because we're all kind of impacted by the world today, by our jobs, by our lives, by the pain that we've experienced. The gratitude list makes life a little bit more simple and happier and changes up our brain chemistry. So during the holidays, if you haven't, I suggest the gratitude list. Matter of fact, how about we go all the way through and just one word. Think of one word for gratitude for today.
Thankful.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciative?
Okay, what are you grateful for?
Oh, what are we for, or the word that means, oh, family.
Okay.
My wife.
Oh, that's because I'm sitting here.
There you go, right out the window.
That's beautiful.
Friends. I was gonna say wife, but he stalled it.
Where's Bev?
Ladies, we'll come back around.
The Hope Sheds Light Organization, Mr. Steve Willis, and family and friends.
Yes?
Family and home.
Yes, you, sir.
I'm sorry, I thought you were going to her. I'll say her. My wife.
My daughters.
I walked the board.
Hey,
My mom and dad.
and in the back room, if you speak a little louder, please.
My wife.
Lady behind you? Yes. On this side?
I'm grateful for a day sober. Good friend.
A godson who's in recovery. Family friend. I'm still here.
I celebrate 26 years of sobriety.
Congratulations.
I'm grateful my addict is still alive.
God's love and mercy and my better half. Point.
I'm grateful to be here.
Gentlemen, Mr. Becker.
I have one more big thing.
All right.
My health and education.
Sorry?
My health and education.
I'm sorry. I don't know your name. The lady in front of you guys?
My children. Me?
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my family and I'm grateful that I experienced peace today.
My faith.
I'm grateful to find Hope Sheds Light and the support I get from it.
I'm grateful for the conversation I had with my daughter right before I came here and how she told me she has such a newfound and really good relationship with Jesus. I'm surprised, but very happy.
I'm grateful for Grace. Not the lady, Grace.
Grateful for my family and for having made it to retirement.
I'm sorry.
Grateful for God waking me up another day clean.
Thank you all. That was really a beautiful share. And it was uplifting and happy. So thank you all. A while ago when I did a presentation here, I introduced the Gap of Miracles. And for those of you who have seen it before, I hope you just bear with me, but I'm going to do it again. Because it really talks about what happens to someone when they're on the path of recovery. And when someone is just a normal person, not someone who's in recovery, you're born and you go along the continuum of life, and then you die. The addict is born, goes along the continuum of life, and somewhere along the way, addiction hits. And it takes the person off of this trajectory in life. And they start to wobble and maybe go up. And there's this crazy path that happens. It could be quick, it could be slow. And there is a bottom. And they say that you either die, you go insane, or you recover. And once that bottom hits, and one of those things happens, should you find, or the person find their way into recovery, what happens is they will go along and pass themselves by on what would have been their continuum. They pass themselves by because they have the experience that they've had, plus they have recovery experience. And when someone passes themselves by, all of a sudden, they've gained all this knowledge, they're being guided on a path to make different choices, and they're adding to the world in a way they would not have added to before. And it happens to us that are in 12-step recovery, whether you're in Al-Anon or AA, it still is the same thing that happens. You pass yourself by because you have a different life experience. This part of life is called the gap of miracles. And it's why we want to support anybody along this path here so that they can get there to the destiny that they were meant to go through. So if you're ever talking to someone and saying, well, why are you doing this work? Why are you going to meetings? Why are you taking the time to work on yourself? That's the reason. Because we don't know what our path is going to bring us. And if we pay attention, and if we stay still, and we're present, and we listen, we can find out what that path is. And that's despite ourselves. You can steal it. It's not mine. I stole it from a guy that I did. He was giving a presentation in Atlantic City like 15 years ago, and I was like, I like that. Jose Sierra, he's in Brooklyn. So if anybody wants his information to give him credit, I'll give it to you. I'd be happy to. So in my gap of miracles, I had an 8-month-old baby, and I didn't have a college education, but I loved people and I liked to talk. So I was working for a catering company, and so I decided I'd get a real estate license, because I figured if I sold houses and flipped houses, I'd make money and take care of my child. So I did that when the interest rates were like 19%. So that didn't last. And I went to a meeting, and this one guy said he was hiring salespeople to sell printing. So I sold printing out of Jersey City. Then I went on to sell fine diameter cable and wire in Washington, New Jersey, and Warren County. I was living in the hills of Warren County, selling wire on the phone, and I was not being paid what the men were being paid. So I had to go on retreat to get my mind right, because I was angry. Here I had this baby, I was working really hard, I was making them like lots of money. And on the retreat, I did writing work, and I decided I wanted to sing jingles. That was my dream. So within 3 months, I was working for this really small radio station up in Hackettstown, New Jersey, and I wrote and produced commercials there, and I was their top biller. So that bought me the right to sing jingles. So I sang jingles for this radio station. Then after that, I used to go on sales calls, and there'd be this really big guy, his name was Jerry. Wherever I would go, Jerry was there, and he was trying to get the same business that I was getting. Jerry'd be like, hey, kid, what are you doing? And I'm like, he's got half my budget. Oh my God, this guy's gonna drive me nuts. So he was my competitor, and I was stolen by his company to work for them. And I sat next to Jerry, who used to work for NBC, and he couldn't stop selling. So Jerry and I became friends. And he made a deal where he'd go to Boca in Florida half the year, and I would take his accounts and make sure that they were billing all right, write the commercials for him and produce. And we became these really good friends. And at that point in time, the woman who was my boss was a cocaine addict. And she had a bad day one day, a really bad day. And she fired me. And I was like, Grace, what do I do with this? Where do I go? You know, I was doing okay financially. I was getting myself going, and I walked into this prevention agency that had been part of Jerry's accounts. And the lady said to me, do you work with Jerry B? And I was like, yeah, I work with Jerry B. And she goes, well, then I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to have anything to do with you. And I said, well, if I could sit down, get somebody to pay for commercials for you, and they would run over a year, it won't cost you a dime, would you talk to me? And she said yes. So I got a guy who was a car dealership owner in recovery to pay for all the ads. I had the head of the Chamber of Commerce read the ads, and we ran them on the overnights, and I ended up on her board. That's where I met Pam. So we started to work together and at a prevention agency, and from there I worked prevention, treatment, I did advocacy and recovery with other people, like trying to reduce stigma, and then I got back into the treatment world. And along the line, I did healing touch and Reiki and energy work because I believe that we all have energy and we can all help heal each other, and good things can happen from that. So my gap of miracles is still not done. It's still not done. And I recover sometimes despite myself, because sometimes I just don't do well by myself. I have to talk to other people that can tell me, do this, do this, do that, you know. So I leave you with this, and I ask you, what are we recovering to? When we talk to somebody, we always think we're recovering from addiction. But the real question is, what are we recovering to? And the answer is, in that gap of miracles, the potential for discovery. So I leave you with that, and I thank you for your time today.
Thank you so very much, Dory. That was an amazing story. You're really good at this. I know you were nervous, but you did a fantastic job. Thank you. Okay, so just a few announcements. I started something new as far as the surveys go. I put a few at the beginning of each pew, so if we need a few more, I can pass out a few more, or we can pass them to our neighbors. This is how we get feedback of what we want, what you guys want to hear from us, and how we can better serve our population. And then I'm going to pass out these handy-dandy, fun-colored slips. And this is how we're going to break into our small groups. There are 3 facilitators for the evening. We have, where is Steve?